Mr. Anthony Mwanza, this is in response to your video that is trending, where you said the people that advise the president, they lie to the president. My dear, let me tell you this. Since the history of Zambia and its presidency, HH is one president that has quality advisors. There is no president in the history of Zambia that has solid advisors as President HH. And you know what? President HH listens. You politicians have problem. When you are not in power, you have solution to everything. But once you are in power, you don't do anything. Mr. Anthony Mwanza, you were the spokesperson for PF when PF was in government. I didn't hear you advising Edgar Lungu. In your presence, with your own eyes, you saw how cadres were killing people, how cadres were brutalizing people, how cadres were abusing women. Anthony Mwanza, in your eyes, you saw PF cadres naked and they embarrassed a lady, a UPND lady. The lady did not commit any crime. The only crime she committed was wearing a UPND regalia. That was on a youth day. Am I talking about the atrocities that were happening on a Women's Day? How the cadres were all over. Mr. Anthony Mwanza, you were in power. You were the spokesperson of that government. I didn't hear you condemn the act. Edgar Lungu came out when international community, Catholic organization, women rights organization, when they rose up and said, no. You, Edgar Lungu, stop Kadarism. Edgar Lungu was bold enough to come on national television and say, I cannot do anything without the Kadars. Edgar Lungu embraced the atrocity and brutality of the Kadars. You yourself started going from radio to defend Edgar Lungu. Today you want to appear nice. No, these people don't tell the power that be the truth. What are you talking about? Which truth are you talking about? HH is a man that listens. You know, sometimes I even wonder. The man is a listener. 90% of decisions that HH has made for the country, he made it after listening to his advisors. HH in one of his speech, at the middle of his speech, one day say, hey, Jito, where is Jito? He remembered that he had already told Jito to go home. Because him and Jito were from morning till night, cracking heads together, putting heads together to make a very, very critical decision for the country. Who is Jito? Is Jito not an advisor? HH surrounded himself with intellectuals, and when they talk, HH listens. That is why you see a lot of economic boom taking place in Zambia today. As we speak today, Nigeria is a country that produces oil, but fuel is cheaper in Zambia than here. That is an economic, that is an advice that he got from people within himself. How he's managing to maneuver this economic shakeup that is taking place all over the world. It's because of the type of brain and advices that he gets from people that advise him. He's a listener. You appear to have solution. I have problem with politicians. You were in power all these years and failed to tell Edgar Lungu the truth. When Edgar Lungu make a blunder, nobody tells him that you have made a blunder. Edgar Lungu arrested the church and charged him with treason. Anthony Mwanza, you were going from radio to radio, house to TV, trying to justify the act of wickedness that Edgar Lungu committed. You people, that's why when you're not in power, you become intelligent. But once you take over power, you become fools. That HH was in a car, behind the car, not even in front of the car. And his driver, not HH driving, his driver was negotiating road with the president. And can you imagine that a whole government with intellectual that can advise them did not advise them that that fracas has nothing to do with HH. If you have to charge somebody for reckless driving, endangering the life of Edgar Lungu, it was the driver. How was HH arrested from his house, brutalized, naked, beaten, his children beaten, his wife beaten for a crime that he did not commit? And he was charged with treason and stayed in prison for many, many months. And you never said anything to Edgar Lungu. Now you're out of power. You're saying the people that are there, they're not doing a good job. HH has the best advisors in the history of Zambia. When you see them, you will know that these are intellectuals. Edgar Lungu had criminals like Kaiser Zulu that was advising him. Edgar Lungu had criminals like Amos Chanda. How many of them am I going to mention? You didn't complain. Now that Zambia has quality advisors, people with brain, people that reason, that's when you are saying they don't tell them the truth. When the president say this is black, they say yes, it's black. And the president say you don't know President HH and you don't know his advisor. You have never attended a meeting where he sits with advisors. You will know that he takes pen and paper and take notes. And whatever they advise him, he put in practice. You don't know what you're talking about, Antonia. Things have changed in Zambia. There is a president that has advice. Whatever people say, President HH is hearing. The man is always on Facebook. He's on WhatsApp. Many of you that are watching this video know, if you are a staunch UPND member, an inner caucus, you will know that the president is always online, receiving advice from people. Online, sharing notes and discussing with people. This is the first president that listens, that we ask you, can we do this? Can we do that? That nonsense you are talking, and people are clapping for you. People are even tagging me. See, Awan, stop praising HH. Tell him the truth. Go and listen to what Antonia wants. Antonia rubbish. Antonia nonsense. Antonia bullshit. Antonia is talking nonsense. You were in power. You couldn't tell the power the truth. You people are the ones that deceived Edgar Lungu. You lied to Edgar Lungu with false. You gave him false hope. There is no difference between you and Maccabi Zulu. Edgar Lungu is dead today in the land of the spirit because of Maccabi Zulu. And there is no difference between you, Antonia, with Maccabi Zulu. Because you had the power, authority to tell him the truth. Sometimes, even if they gave you something to read as the spokesperson, you can actually call the president and say, the president, what I'm reading is not the reality on the ground. You didn't do it. Today you want to become a champion. You want to say people that are advising a church are not doing well. You don't know what you are talking about. Try to beg them. Talk to Jito and tell him to allow you to enter one of these meetings where they are talking to a church. A church behave like a classroom child. He will carry his pen and his paper. You are even talking. You haven't seen where a church is attending meeting with the students. With pen and paper, they are talking, is writing down. Did you see that with Edgar Lungu? A church is the only president in the history of Zambia with ears. Remember when B7 came? Everything was okay. I mean, the same way it went through was the same way it was going to go through from onset. The Catholics said, no, withdraw it. Hold on, do more consultation. He withdrew it and did more consultation. The chief said, no, anything people say, I even got worried. I said, what kind of a man is this that want to please everyone? A man that want to listen to everyone. If you say that HH does not listen, you are a fool. There is no truth in your mouth. You had the power to tell Edgar Lungu that your cadres are killing people. You didn't tell him. You had the power to tell Edgar Lungu that, my friend, you have charged the wrong person with treason. HH was not the driver driving that car. It has nothing to do with HH. HH didn't commit any crime. You didn't tell him. Edgar Lungu took HH from his room in cold, naked. We don't forget these things, and we'll never forget it until we die. It's here in the heart. That injustice happened in your eyes. The wife, it was going to be poisoned. Ask the prison commander right now. HH was scheduled to be poisoned several times. He was saved by the prison commander. It was all these atrocities were happening in your own eyes. You didn't advise your Edgar Lungu. Today you want to become champion. You want to talk nonsense so that people will clap for you. Politicians always have the solution when they are in opposition. But once they take over power, they become useless. They become nonsense. You think that leadership is easy? We must clap for HH for being a listening president. I'm saying all of us, we that know HH, even if you don't know HH, from many things that I've spoken here, we need to clap for him for being a listening president. And the special advisors are doing marvelous jobs. They are doing unbelievable jobs. If you don't believe me, look at Jito. Then you understand what I'm talking about. Don't just sit down and talk nonsense, my dad.